The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Golenbock University. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Gene Hutmaker joins us once again. And
Hi.
We're going to talk baseball tonight. And how you doing, Gene? How you doing, Peter?
Doing very nicely. Considering what the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays have done and the Oakland A's have done in the last month, it's just thrilling to be able to watch Major League Baseball these days.
My A's out here have taken my mind off the disastrous Mets season that I had to go through, June in particular. And it was interesting today because the Rays are looking to stay alive, and the A's lost the ball game today where for the first time in a long time they played some sloppy ball, and it just didn't turn out right. And they're looking to catch the Yankees, and I think this day in this game is going to go down as a bad one because they had a chance to go up a game with the Yankees, who hold the tiebreaker for the advantage of playing at home in the wild card game.
Mm-hmm.
And but your Rays have stayed alive. They've surprised. I think they're more of a surprise than the A's have been, given all the trades they made mid-season.
Yeah. I know. What they did was just sheer genius. Absolute sheer genius. And I haven't said that about Rays management in a long, long time.
I know a couple of years ago when Cash was first hired, you weren't very high on him.
Well, he was in his first year as manager, and managing, people don't realize just how difficult managing is. I mean, it's really, you've got to be sharp, and you've got to be on top of things, and the way, Billy Martin and Casey Stengel were always, 2 innings ahead. And if you're a rookie manager, you just don't have the experience to be 2 innings ahead. Fortunately, he has some really wonderful coaches surrounding him, and a wonderful front office helping him out. And his improvement as a manager has been very, very exciting to watch.
Okay. Let's get to the Yankees. Gene's first hate and your first hate.
Yes. Gene wrote a whole book about how he hates the Yankees.
about hating them. My observation of this year is that they've won over 90 games, and I hear nothing but kvetching and disappointment from the Yankees, and they don't take Yankee fans, and they don't take their hats off to a Boston team that is top to bottom all season long, unbeatable, and you got to give them credit. It's like the Indians beating the Yankees out in *54. Hell, they won 114 games.
No question. But Ralph, you've got to be a little real here. You're not about to ask Yankee fans to give kudos to the Red Sox. It's just it isn't happening.
I think their hats are off on some level. They're playing the wild card game, and the Red Sox aren't. But I'm just saying, I'm not a Yankee fan, but when I look at Yankee fans, I see 27 World Championships, and a year that a lot of injuries, a lot of pitching problems.
Well, De Gregorius, from what I understand, De Gregorius is out for the season now.
Really?
Yeah. That's a big loss. That's a really big loss.
That is a very big loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Boy.
Well, Houston has Correa kind of hurting too, so.
Correa's hurting and Springer's hurting.
Right.
So people are hurting. There's no two ways about that. I was just on a radio station up in Boston for the last about a half an hour. You talk about bitching and moaning. It was hilarious. Those Boston fans, our bullpen is weak. Our players have stopped hitting. Now, this is a team that's won 105 games.
10 games ahead of the Yankees.
And, you're listening to these people. You talk about bitching and moaning. It was hilarious.
Yeah. A lot of fans can't appreciate the ebb and flow of a season.
True.
There are just going to be times, no matter how good you are, when, the wheels seem like they're falling off, and that's just by the numbers. Statistically, you're going to win 60, lose 60. Or how does that go? You get games you should have won, lost. And
right.
There's a certain amount that you're going to be up for grabs. And
I always go back to the 1927 Yankees, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, won 110 games in a 154-game season. So if they won 110 games, they lost 44 games. So, you're still going to lose games. Whether it's the beginning of the season, the end of the season, it's going to happen. And, for the Boston fans who are the champions of the American League East, and for the Yankee fans who have made it into the playoffs, and, I don't think quite that they can be removed from that. To hear them bitching and moaning really just cracks me up.
Yes. Gene,
well, they don't have a second baseman for the whole season.
Who are we talking about?
Pedroia.
They didn't need him.
I know.
They didn't need him.
That,
I'm
just saying.
I know.
That's one of the things.
No.
Yeah,
what's
Nunes
odd
did okay
is
there.
Mookie Betts started out as a second baseman. And I thought that they would be tempted to bring him back into the infield. As a matter of fact,
he's just too good. He's too good in the outfield to do that. So they weren't about to do it. And, that's just one hell of a team, that Red Sox team. It really is. It's a powerful, powerful ball club.
Are they confident that they have everything they need to go into the playoffs?
Well, what would you like them to have? What would you like them to have? John Donaldson? What do you want them to have?
No,
they have everything they need. They won 105 games, and before they're done, they'll win 110. They have everything they need.
If their pitching staff is in order, if they're going into the playoffs at a good time, teams want to crest at the right time. And
quite frankly, it's why we watch. This is why we watch. It's a very good question, a very, very smart question, but we do not know the answer to that particular question. That's why we are not going to know until somewhere in October who's going to end up in the World Series.
The Cardinals won in 11 and Kansas City won, and they were both like, nobody ever thought that them two teams would win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know it.
You're a Cardinal fan, Gene. Could you talk to the difference in pressure in playing in the Midwest? And Peter, you can chip in because you wrote a book on the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And the idea of playing in New York, the Ed Whitson thing, where some guys can play in the city, they thrive on it. Gary Carter comes to, Reggie Jackson, but some guys fizz out. Can you guys talk about that and the reasons and how real is that?
Sure, Gene, go first.
I think the Cardinals fans are just like they're not going to boo anybody really. They're going to be like I went to the games when they were booing Mantle until Maris came along. So but in the Cardinals, I don't think they just do that. The fans are there are more mellow and they're all Cardinal fans basically. Like you go to New York and Yankee Stadium back in the 60s, especially when there was no National League ball. I think like a third of the fans were against the Yankees because there was there were National League fans that don't want to go to a ball game. You had to go to a Yankee game. But the Midwest are, I think, like outside of the Cubs, they're kind of mellow. I think I was in St. Louis a couple of years ago for a couple of games, and the fans just seem completely different, and they're basically all Cardinal fans.
Right.
Yeah, well, the Yankees, the Yankees have won 29 pennants. So they expect more. They expect when George Steinbrenner was the owner of the Yankees, and he owned the Yankees for 30 years. Anything short of winning the World Series was not a successful year for him.
Yeah, he put something in the Times when they lost in '81 today, apologizing to the fans in New York for the Yankees' poor performance.
Oh, he did, and the players and Billy Martin were just fit to be tied when he did that. I mean, what a totally rotten, poor sport. I mean, there's another person who's currently in the White House who Steinbrenner reminds me of tremendously. The two of them were friends, and they had very similar personalities.
Yeah.
They want yes men.
Well, they did, but they were also narcissists. So that, quite frankly, for the Yankees, it was all about George. George
and Al Rosen, they left him.
Oh, shoot! Everybody left him because Steinbrenner was the sort of person who knew the game better than anybody else. If you'd asked him.
Right.
And so he would tell Billy Martin what to do. He would tell Gabe Paul what to do. He had
Rosen what to do.
Well, there were a remarkable number of managers and general managers and PR people. I mean, for something like 25 years, the Yankees lost every year because of Steinbrenner's foolishness. Steinbrenner always wanted to trade work. Say again?
They did get Steve Trout, and he told Pinelli he won the World Series for him.
Explain.
When he signed Trout.
Oh yeah.
Dizzy Trout's son.
No, that's right.
I got to the World Series.
Except for one thing. Trout was another one of those guys who had difficulty pitching in New York. The pressure was too great for him. Yankee fans are a funny bunch. They really are. I love them dearly. I'm one myself, and I like to assume, the same attitude about my team. I've lived in Tampa Bay since 1990, and so I use my Yankee, feelings about this team here in Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, I've got an owner who is the sort of person who feels that the bottom line is more important than winning. And so the frustration for me and, a lot of the other fans is that we don't feel that he spends enough money on the ball club. And then, of course, you have a year like this year when their salary is about $30 million for the entire team right now. But this is one of the very best teams in baseball. So you can't much criticize. You can't bitch and moan too much when they're playing as great as they are.
Right. I've never asked you this, Peter, if it comes down to the last day of the season and Tampa Bay is playing the Yankees for the pennant, say, who do you root for?
I have been a fan of the Tampa Bay Rays since their very first game. I've lived in this town since 1990. I came here in 1989 for the Senior League to write the Forever Boys. But after moving here, it made no sense to me to be anything but a fan of the local team. So I am a fan of the Tampa Bay Rays, a big fan. I have season tickets. I've had season tickets for many years. I root for this team, as best I can, knowing that I have an owner who lives in Scarsdale and who doesn't want to spend any money. But short of that, my attitude is that not Lou Gehrig, am the luckiest person on the face of this earth because here in my little tiny town, I've got Major League Baseball.
That's very true. That's very true. It's hard, though, and it is for me as someone who's taken to the A's and they have an uncertain ballpark situation like Tampa Bay does, and there's a lot of similarities. how they churn and bring in players, and historically, not necessarily this year, but historically, it's very difficult as a fan who's burnt as a kid when the Giants left New York to really get so attached to a team that if they leave, I'm going to have a broken heart again. And, people listening at, baseball gives you a broken heart and stuff. So it's a real bad thing for kids, old people, young people, when a team leaves an area. That's where I think there should be some eminent domain on a team and this, that, and the other thing. But so I know what you're going through. Do you ever think?
I once said to Bart Giamatti, this was the time when George Steinbrenner was talking about moving to New Jersey. And I thought, Giamatti's a Yale guy. I thought, he would be a liberal guy. He was the president of Yale. So I said to him, Mr. Giamatti, there should be some way that Major League Baseball could force George Steinbrenner to stay in Yankee Stadium and stay in the Bronx. And I tell you, he looked at me with daggers, as though somehow I had said something that was, against America, and basically told me, to go, stick it, which I thought was very, very interesting. So basically it tells you that this game, in terms of the money, the people who are in charge are the owners. And if they want to take the team and move it from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, or move it from, New York to San Francisco, there's nobody who's going to stop these people from doing it. So here in Tampa Bay, they're moving the team from St. Petersburg because they're not happy to Tampa. Now, Tampa has no money for this team. This building is going to cost $1 billion, and the city of Tampa has got zero money for it. So you have to think that what's going to happen is they're going to move this team somewhere else in the next 5 or 6 years. But my attitude is the same attitude as when I tell friends who are thinking of getting married. And these are friends who have been divorced before, and they're telling me, I really don't know. My first wife, it didn't work out real well. I'm really thinking maybe, not to do it. And, basically what you tell them is, you want to be happy? You marry this woman and worry about tomorrow. And it's the same thing with a baseball team. I'm going to root for the Rays. If and when, that's an if and when, they should move to Tampa, I will get myself a 20-game season and go on the weekends because the traffic is horrendous. And if they move to Portland or New Jersey or Timbuktu, I'll go back and be the greatest Yankee fan that ever was. But either way, I've got Major League Baseball to root for.
Okay.
How many spots are there to move to?
I'm sorry?
How many spots in the country are there to move to? Is Portland someplace? I may chip in on that. Let me chip in on that. Portland is one. Charlotte is one. These are cities that have been designated by baseball as possible either expansion sites or sites that teams, if they can't get it together with stadium, like the A's, like the Rays. Charlotte is another one. Las Vegas is another one. And
Las Vegas is another one. Yeah.
It stunned me this week when the A's acquired the rights to Las Vegas for their AAA team, which had been in Nashville last year. On the other coast, which is ridiculous, the Mets were in Las Vegas, and now they're in Syracuse. So with that comes a way out. If they don't get the shovel in the ground, they're almost forced out because baseball is slowly reducing this luxury tax being used to fund teams that aren't making it. Now, the A's are getting that not because they're a small market team, because their ballpark is a dump. So what baseball has done is they've said, hey, look, if you can't get a ballpark going, and they had one major crisis, they decided, they announced, we've got a location, and then they were turned down. They didn't have all their cards in order, and they got shot down. Mm-hmm. There are two other locations that they're considering, but Alameda County / Oakland, which jointly own the stadium, have a bad reputation as to keeping sports teams. The Warriors are gone. The Raiders are gone. Yep. So I don't expect them to negotiate in any good faith. And I think what the A's are doing now, they're just doing the best they can to get it done. But if they don't, and if the county / the city of Oakland screw it up, they could be gone within I think there's 2 years left on the lease of a dilapidated ballpark. Mm-hmm. Truly, the plumbing is running over, and they put a monstrosity in center field for Al Davis, and then he left. And so I see the possibility of them going, and that's what brought this up, is how much allegiance can you give to a fan, to a team as a fan? You answered it perfectly, Peter. Today's today. It's like
exactly.
If the marriage doesn't work, we'll worry about that tomorrow. You'll have a few happy days. You'll have a nice honeymoon. You could always promise that. You'll have a nice honeymoon, and anything after that is cream on the pie.
No, absolutely right. Major League Baseball for some reason doesn't want this town, doesn't want St. Petersburg to have the team. Now, St. Petersburg did an incredibly stupid thing, and a friend of mine is one of those who was the leader of the stupid thing. What the Rays wanted to do is they wanted to move the baseball field to Al Lang Stadium, which is on the water in St. Petersburg. It would have been one gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous ballpark. But the people, the rather wealthy people who lived in the area, did not want the noise. They did not want the lights on at night to somehow disturb their sleep. Who goes to bed before 11 o'clock? Who the hell knows? And they voted it down. And so you really can't blame the Rays for moving, because they gave it an honest effort to stay in St. Petersburg. And when the city shot them down, that was that. And so it's going to be very interesting to see whether, in fact, they go to Tampa. A lot of the businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, all the big shots with money all say that they're gathering together to somehow help support the team by buying tickets, which is very nice. But if you don't have $1 billion to build a brand new stadium, you're out of luck.
So what are the owners counting on? The owners are counting on financing it themselves?
Nope, that's not what they're counting on. They're counting on the people of Tampa to somewhere, somehow, some way, figure it out. And the people in the know who I know just don't see it. So who knows what's going to happen? Don't know.
When does a decision have to be made on this?
It has to be made by December 31st of this year.
Whoa.
Well, yep.
That's scary.
Well, again,
and even for a guy like you go to every game. For you to be penalized, this is what I'm talking about, eminent domain. If they should keep it, in St. Petersburg until they can find an owner that wants to keep it in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. Stu Sternberg owns it, and he can do. I mean, Giamatti told me. Giamatti told me. He said it to me. It was one of the more amazing conversations I've had with,
especially from a guy who's known for this sentimental.
Exactly right.
At the 50s, I think he wrote a book. And I read
it to my sports class. The green grass of summer.
Right.
Well,
one of them, he wrote another book. We would have played for nothing, and he had interviews with Robin Roberts and all these pitchers and all these players who were at the time struggling for a union that would pay them $6,000 minimum a year. They didn't want to play for nothing.
No, they didn't.
Right,
no.
Money has always been part of it. But for Giamatti to say that is like spitting in the eye of the fan that he's trying to romanticize.
He as much as looked at me and spit in my eye. That's what he did. Because he was trying to be truthful.
Did he give you a look like the pending Supreme Court justice did when he met the gentleman from Parkland who wanted to talk to him about his being a survivor? Did he give you a look like that?
Yeah, it was just like that, in fact. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just like that. Yeah.
He must have been a very warm human being.
I mean, I was so shocked because this was a guy I admired so much because of all of this, his rah-rah. He was a real rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
A real rah-rah guy. But he set me straight. He did. He set me straight. Yeah.
That'll happen. Being set straight isn't fun sometimes.
I know. Meanwhile, we have another wonderful week of talk, and I will talk to you next week.
Stimulating. I enjoy it, Peter, immensely. Gene, thank you for joining us.
Wonderful, Gene. Always wonderful to have you.
Okay.
We'll keep coming back, and good luck this week. In a way, I hope the dream of you guys making the playoffs doesn't die. It's only a week.
You've got to win. You've got to win 8 games out of 9, and they've got to lose 8 games out of 9. It's not about to happen.
I know.
Remember 64.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was 12 games. They had to make up 6 games in 12, which they did, which was amazing.
What was amazing is Chris Short pitched every day.
Chris Short and Jim Bunning.
The pennant run came up a little bit short.
Pray for a hurricane.
Yep, exactly right. I know it.
All right, guys.
The Red Sox are still waiting for Bill Lee to pitch in 1978.
Right. They're waiting for Jim Lonborg to come back from that skiing trip, too.
They are. They're still waiting. I know it.
We're all waiting for what is it? Waiting for Godot.
We're waiting for Godot and Jim Lonborg, who is a dentist, who's a dentist in Boston these days.
Right, and how about this? We're waiting for Mr. Judge to testify this week.
Oh, yeah. Definitely waiting for Mr. Judge. Oh, of course it'll be fair, but you expect him to tell the truth? Come on. Give me a break. No.
Truth,
that never
but
happened.
I would expect him to not tell the truth under oath. That would be nice. At least have the opportunity to make a perjure out of yourself.
Well, you're going to get the same result, unfortunately, unless something fabulous happens that you got.
I hope she's so compelling that she blows everybody away.
Yeah, me too.
Where she says, "You don't remember me? What are you talking about? I have a diary." Are you kidding? You sent me a little note.
Well, the funny thing is that fellow wrote himself a novel about debauchery and drunkenness at the high school, at the private high school.
And what's
we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see indeed.
We'll see in a week.
Pray for the country.
Yep, I always do.
All right.
Be well, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. the best talk radio network on the Internet. Adios, everybody. This has been a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.